Welcome back to Sleepy English Academy. Today, we'll be learning English through audio listening. So, get comfortable and close your eyes.
Once upon a time, there was a little red ladybug named Lucy. She lived on a beautiful sunflower with black and yellow stripes, taller than any other flower in the garden. Every morning, Lucy would wake up with the sun, stretch her tiny wings, and peek over the edge of the sunflower's giant head. The garden was full of her friends, buzzing bumblebees, wiggling worms, and colorful butterflies all greeted Lucy with a happy chirp or a friendly wave. Lucy loved spending the day playing hide and seek with the worms in the soft soil, racing the butterflies in the sunshine, and listening to the bumblebees bumble funny stories. But as the day wore on, the sun began to sink lower in the sky. The flowers started to droop, and the bees buzzed a little slower. Lucy felt a yawn coming on, her tiny legs growing tired. It was time for bed. She scurried down the stem of the sunflower and found a cozy nook nestled between two big, soft leaves. Curling up tightly, Lucy closed her eyes. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, singing her a sleepy song. She drifted off to dreamland, filled with happy memories of her day in the garden. The moon peeked through the leaves, casting a silvery glow over the sleeping garden. Lucy slept soundly all through the night, safe and warm in her leafy bed. In the morning, the sun woke her with a gentle kiss on her head, and Lucy knew it was time for another day of adventures with all her garden friends. My dear listener, I am new to YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
In a bustling city park lived a curious little squirrel named Pip. Pip's days were filled with adventures. He'd chase fallen leaves down windy paths, gather shiny pebbles for his secret stash, and climb the tallest trees, chattering greetings to the pigeons who cooed from the branches. One particularly crisp autumn day, Pip was exploring a new part of the park when he stumbled upon a curious sight. Tucked beneath a towering oak tree sat a tiny, brightly colored house. It had a red roof, a yellow door, and windows peeking out like friendly eyes. Pip had never seen anything like it. Cautiously, he crept closer. The door creaked open a tiny bit, and a voice, soft as a whisper, called out, "Hello?" Pip peeked inside and saw a tiny creature, no bigger than his thumb, with soft, brown fur and fluffy ears. "Hi," Pip squeaked. "Who are you?" "I'm Penny," the creature chirped, her voice tinkling like bells. "I'm a field mouse, and this is my little house." Pip and Penny spent the rest of the afternoon playing hide and seek amongst the fallen leaves and sharing stories. Pip told Penny about his life in the tall trees, and Penny told him about the cozy tunnels beneath the park. Soon, they were the best of friends, their differences forgotten in the joy of new friendship. From that day on, Pip and Penny explored the park together. They found adventure in the smallest things: a sparkling spiderweb, a bumpy acorn, a trail of glittering dewdrops on a blade of grass. Pip learned that friendships could blossom in the most unexpected places, and Penny discovered the thrill of seeing the world from high above the ground. Together, they painted the park with their laughter and filled their days with the warmth of friendship.
Once upon a time, in a land filled with rolling hills and babbling brooks, lived a grumpy old badger named Bartholomew. Bartholomew preferred his solitary life, grumbling to himself as he shuffled through the undergrowth. He didn't like sunshine, flowers made him sneeze, and the playful chatter of young animals filled him with annoyance. One rainy afternoon, hunched over a bowl of lukewarm mushroom stew, Bartholomew heard a frantic squeaking coming from outside. He peeked out his burrow and saw a tiny, shivering hedgehog lost in the downpour. Its prickles were plastered to its body, and it looked scared and cold. Bartholomew hesitated. Helping others wasn't exactly his forte, but something about the tiny creature tugged at his heart. With a grumble, he shuffled out and offered the hedgehog shelter in his burrow. The hedgehog, whose name was Harriet, was incredibly grateful. She curled up by the fire, chattering about her adventure searching for the juiciest slugs. Bartholomew, surprised by Harriet's sunny disposition, found himself grunting less and listening more. Over the next few days, a strange thing happened. Bartholomew found himself enjoying Harriet's company. They shared stories, played a game of burrow bowling, using Bartholomew's grumpy old boots as bowling balls, and even ventured out together, Bartholomew grumbling less with each step. When the rain stopped and the sun peeked through the clouds, it was time for Harriet to return home. Bartholomew felt a pang of sadness, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. He realized that maybe, just maybe, a little bit of company wasn't so bad after all. From that day on, Bartholomew wasn't quite so grumpy. He still enjoyed his solitude, but he also looked forward to Harriet's visits, filled with laughter and stories. He even began to appreciate the sunshine and the playful chatter of the younger animals. Perhaps, Bartholomew thought with a gruff but genuine smile, a little friendship could brighten even the grumpiest badger's life.
In a world painted with moonlight and stardust, lived a little cloud named Luna. Unlike her fluffy, white friends who drifted aimlessly, Luna yearned for adventure. She dreamed of soaring above the clouds, peeking down at the twinkling cities and whispering secrets to the mountains. One starlit night, a strong wind whooshed by, carrying Luna far away from her cloud family. She found herself alone, a tiny speck against the vast, inky canvas of the night sky. Fear threatened to engulf her, but Luna remembered her adventurous spirit. With a determined puff, she pushed herself upwards, higher and higher. As she climbed, the world unfolded beneath her. She saw sparkling rivers like silver ribbons, volcanoes breathing fire, and ancient forests cloaked in darkness. She giggled as she tickled the chimney of a cozy cottage, sending a puff of smoke into the night sky. Suddenly, a shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of shimmering light. Luna, mesmerized, chased after it. Together they raced across the heavens, laughing with the wind and dodging playful constellations. Finally, exhausted but happy, Luna drifted beside the shooting star. "Thank you for the adventure," she whispered. "The adventure isn't over, little cloud," the shooting star winked. "The world is vast, and there's always more to see." With newfound confidence, Luna turned towards the horizon. No longer afraid, Luna embraced her newfound freedom. She knew, no matter how far she wandered, her friends and family, like the moon, would always shine a light, guiding her way home. In a bustling bakery nestled between a lively flower shop and a cozy bookstore lived a tiny mouse named Millie. Unlike her fellow mice who scurried after crumbs and cheese rinds, Millie dreamt of grander things. Of becoming a baker herself. Every morning, Millie would peek through a hole in the baseboard, mesmerized by the baker, Mr. Miller, kneading dough and shaping it into beautiful loaves and pastries. The sweet aroma of cinnamon and sugar filled her with a longing to be part of the magic. One day, gathering her courage, Millie snuck into the bakery after Mr. Miller left for a quick lunch break. She perched on a stool by the counter and, using a fallen breadcrumb as a brush, dipped it in a pool of spilled honey. With a trembling paw, she traced a swirling pattern on a waiting croissant. Just then Mr. Miller returned. He froze, then burst into laughter. "Well, well, a baker in the making, are we?" he chuckled. Millie squeaked in fright, ready to flee. But Mr. Miller surprised her. He picked her up gently and placed her on a flour sack. "Tell you what," he said kindly. "Since you're so curious, how about I teach you a thing or two?" From that day on, Millie became Mr. Miller's apprentice. She learned to sift flour, knead dough with tiny paws, and sprinkle sugar with precision. She even had her own tiny rolling pin and a miniature chef's hat. Soon Millie's creations became a special treat at the bakery. Tiny bite-sized cookies in the shape of acorns, and delicate pastries filled with fragrant lavender. All made with love by the world's smallest baker. Millie, once a curious little mouse, became a legend in the bakery, proving that even the tiniest creature could achieve great things with a sprinkle of courage and a dash of determination. In a cozy burrow beneath a giant oak tree, lived a sleepy little bunny named Bun Bun. Bun Bun loved hopping through fields of wildflowers, nibbling on juicy dandelions, and chasing fluffy butterflies. But by the end of the day, his little bunny nose would twitch, and his ears would droop. It was sleepy time. Mama Bunny would gather soft leaves and fluffy moss, creating a snug bed for Bun Bun. He'd cuddle in, his tiny tummy full of clover. Mama Bunny would then sing a sleepy song about fireflies twinkling like stars and crickets chirping lullabies. Bun Bun's eyelids would get heavier and heavier. One by one, his brothers and sisters, Pip and Poppy, would hop in, snuggling close to Bun Bun. Outside, the sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink. The wind whispered through the leaves, a gentle lullaby. And then, like magic, sleep would fall over the little burrow. Bun Bun would dream of sweet carrots, fluffy clouds, and butterfly races. He would sleep soundly, growing big and strong, until the first rays of sunshine peeked through the leaves, waking him for another day of adventures. And so it went, night after night, in the cozy burrow beneath the oak tree. Bun Bun and his siblings, safe and warm, drifted off to dreamland, ready for another fun-filled day, all thanks to the magic of sleep. Once upon a time, in a warm, sun-dappled meadow, lived a tiny ladybug named Luna. Luna loved spending her days flitting from flower to flower, her red shell catching the sunlight like a tiny ruby. But as the sun began to sink lower in the sky, casting long shadows on the meadow, Luna would feel a yawn creeping up on her. Sleep time was approaching. Luna would fly towards a tall sunflower, its petals drooping gently towards the ground. Tucked amongst the soft yellow petals, Luna had a secret hideaway, a cozy nook made of velvety flower fluff. Crawling inside, she would curl up, feeling safe and warm. From outside, a gentle chorus began. The crickets chirped a sleepy tune, and the fireflies blinked their tiny lights like firefly nightlights. Luna felt her eyelids growing heavy, and a comforting drowsiness came over her. She drifted off to dreams filled with the sweet scent of clover and the joyful dance of butterflies. Luna slept soundly throughout the night, nestled safe within the sunflower. When the first rays of morning sunlight peeked over the horizon, Luna stretched her tiny wings. Feeling refreshed and ready for a new day's adventure, she flew out to greet the meadow, ready to explore and play once again. In a cozy little house built from seashells, lived a sleepy little hermit crab named Shelley. Shelley loved exploring the tide pools at the beach, searching for hidden treasures like sparkly pebbles and shiny bits of seashell. She'd scuttle between the rocks, her shell clattering behind her like a tiny pair of shoes. But by the time the sun began to dip towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the beach, Shelley would feel a familiar tug at her eyelids. It was time for bed. Shelley would scurry back to her cozy seashell house. Inside, she had a soft bed made of seaweed and a collection of smooth, colorful pebbles she'd found on her adventures. Curling up inside her shell, she felt safe and snug. From outside, the ocean sang a gentle lullaby. The waves whispered secrets as they rolled onto the shore, and the seagulls cooed goodnight calls. Shelley felt a warm sleepiness wash over her, and a tiny yawn escaped her little crab mouth. Then, as if sprinkled with stardust, sleep would fall upon Shelley. She dreamt of playful dolphins leaping through waves, schools of shimmering fish, and hidden treasure chests overflowing with sparkling jewels. Shelley slept soundly all through the night, safe and warm in her seashell house. When the first rays of sunshine kissed the ocean waves, Shelley awakened with a happy sigh. Stretching out her tiny legs, she felt refreshed and ready for a new day's adventure. She scurried out of her house, eager to explore the tide pools once again, with the promise of new discoveries waiting just beyond the shore.
In a world painted with moonlight and fireflies, lived a tiny firefly named Flicker. Unlike his brothers and sisters who zoomed through the night sky, leaving bright trails of light, Flicker's light was a gentle flicker, barely noticeable in the darkness. He felt sad and small, wishing he could shine as brightly as everyone else. One night, feeling discouraged, Flicker flew away from the other fireflies and landed on a soft patch of moss. He sat there, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky. A wise old owl hooted from a nearby branch. "Why the long face, little one?" the owl asked kindly. Flicker explained his sadness about his dim light. The owl listened patiently and then hooted softly. "Little one, your light may be small, but it has a special purpose. Look closely." Flicker looked around, surprised to see a cluster of sleepy ladybugs gathered near him. They had tucked themselves in amongst the velvety moss, using his soft glow as a cozy nightlight. They seemed calm and peaceful. The owl continued, "Your gentle light helps others feel safe and secure at night. It might not be a big, showy light, but it's a very important one." Flicker felt a warmth spread through him. He realized his light, though small, brought comfort to others. From that day on, Flicker flew with pride, his tiny light a beacon of peace and security for all the little creatures of the night. He learned that even the smallest light can make a big difference, and with a happy sigh, drifted off to sleep, dreaming of firefly friends and a sky full of twinkling stars.
Once upon a time, in a garden overflowing with flowers, lived a tiny bumblebee named Bumble. Bumble loved buzzing from bloom to bloom, sipping sweet nectar and collecting pollen on his fuzzy legs. He'd zip around like a tiny helicopter, his wings whirring happily as he greeted all the garden creatures. But by the end of the day, Bumble's wings would feel tired, and his little bee belly would be full of yummy flower juice. He'd know it was time for bed. Back in his cozy hive, nestled amongst the buzzing honeycomb, Bumble would find his special spot. It was a soft bed of fluffy pollen, tucked between two big, golden honeycombs. Before settling in, Bumble would share stories of his day with his bee buddies. He'd tell them about the beautiful roses he peeked inside, the silly butterfly he chased, and the grumpy ladybug he politely avoided. As he finished his stories, a gentle hum would fill the hive, a lullaby sung by the worker bees. It was a song about dancing flowers, sleepy butterflies, and the magic of dreams. Bumble's eyes would get heavier and heavier, and a contented hum would escape his tiny mouth. Finally, sleep would fall upon the hive. Bumble would dream of fluffy clouds shaped like cotton candy, buzzing adventures with his bee buddies, and fields bursting with colorful flowers. He'd sleep soundly all through the night, snuggled safely in his pollen bed. When the first rays of morning light peeked through the leaves, Bumble would awaken with a happy stretch. His wings would feel strong again, and his belly would be ready for more delicious nectar. He'd buzz out of the hive, ready to explore the garden once more, all thanks to the magic of sleep and sweet dreams. And so it went, day after day, in the bustling hive in the flower garden. Bumble and his bee buddies, safe and sound, drifted off to dreamland each night, ready for a new day filled with sunshine, flowers, and the joy of being a bee.